Maplewood, Oregon, a small, sleepy town where everyone knew everyone, and nothing ever happened. The streets were quiet. The mail always arrived on time. Kids rode their bikes until sunset, and at the end of Evermore Lane stood a blue one-story house with white shutters, the kind you'd miss if you blinked. But today, no one missed it. Police tape waved in the breeze like a warning. Yellow, bright, loud. A body had been found inside. The victim, Daniel Harper, 42 years old, paralyzed from the waist down since a car accident 5 years ago. Now dead in his wheelchair, and his wife, Elena Harper, was missing. Detective Miles Grant, a seasoned investigator with the Oregon State Police, stood on the front porch, arms crossed, staring at the scene. He had worked homicides for 20 years and had seen just about everything. Lovers turned killers, greed wrapped in charm, and secrets hidden beneath wedding rings. But something about this case felt off. "Who found the body?" Miles asked, eyes scanning the inside of the house as officers walked in and out. "A neighbor," Officer Jenkins replied. "Mrs. Downing said she hadn't seen Elena in 2 days and noticed the dog barking nonstop. She came over, knocked, and when no one answered, she called us." Inside, the living room was clean, spotless, almost too clean. Daniel sat in his motorized wheelchair, head slumped forward, eyes wide open. No visible wounds, no blood, just gone. The coroner, Dr. Lively, was already examining the body. "Preliminary looks like suffocation," she said. "No trauma, no struggle. Could have been smothered with a pillow." Miles nodded. "And the wife?" "Gone. Her purse is here. Car still in the garage. But her phone is missing." The couple had been married for 8 years. After the accident, Elena had left her teaching job to take care of Daniel full-time. Friends called her devoted, a saint, never missed a doctor's appointment, pushed his wheelchair through snow and rain, cooked his meals, bathed him, fed him. So what happened? Miles began looking through their home office. He found folders of Daniel's medical files, a few bank statements, a photo album with pictures from before the accident. Daniel had been tall, athletic, a contractor before the crash. Elena always smiling beside him. Then he found something interesting, a locked drawer. "Get me a kit," Miles told an officer. Inside the drawer, he found a second cell phone. Not Elena's, not Daniel's main phone either. He powered it on. What he saw made his eyebrows lift. Messages, hundreds of them, from a woman named Jasmine. The most recent message was from the night before Daniel was found dead. "I can't do this anymore. You said you'd leave her. 5 years, Daniel. 5. I'm done being your secret." Miles looked around the quiet, polished home, the perfectly staged life. He could already feel it. Beneath the surface of this picture-perfect marriage was a slow, cold betrayal that had boiled for years, and now someone was dead. He turned to Jenkins. "Put out a BOLO for Elena Harper. We're not calling her a suspect yet, but she sure as hell isn't just a grieving widow." Detective Miles Grant sat in his office with the second phone, Daniel Harper's secret phone, laying on the table in front of him like a bomb waiting to explode. The messages told a different story than the marriage pictures on the walls. Daniel had been having an affair, not for weeks, not for months, for 5 years. Grant read the text again, this time slower. The woman, Jasmine, didn't hold back her frustration. Her words were sharp, angry, hurt, and desperate. "I gave you everything, Daniel. I waited while she fed you, bathed you, while you sat there and let her think you needed her. You never told her. You used both of us." There were pictures too, intimate, hotel room selfies, some dated as far back as 2020. One was taken just 3 weeks ago. Miles called Officer Jenkins into the room. "Find this Jasmine. Full name, address, anything you can pull from this phone. Start with the hotel receipts. If Daniel was careful, she might not be." Jenkins nodded and got to work. Across town, Elena Harper's face was now on every news channel. "Local caregiver missing after husband found dead," the headline read. Neighbors described Elena as sweet, quiet, and tired-looking. "She always looked tired," said Mrs. Downing, the woman who had found Daniel, "but never angry, never the type to run." Miles knew better. After 20 years in homicide, he had learned that pain wears many faces, and betrayal could turn even the kindest heart cold. He returned to the Harper home to speak with Mrs. Downing again. "Did you hear anything strange the night before?" he asked her. She shook her head. "Not strange, but now that you mention it, I did see a car parked outside around 10 that night. A black sedan. I figured it was a nurse or something. Elena usually had help." "Not that I know of," the old woman replied. "She did everything herself." Back inside the house, Miles began looking for signs of another person being there. No forced entry, no broken glass, but something felt too neat, like someone had cleaned. In the bedroom, he noticed the linen hamper missing. When they opened the laundry room, it was empty. No towels, no bedding, no clothes. The washing machine smelled of bleach. "Have forensics run every drain and surface," Miles said, "and check for blood residue. I don't care how clean it looks." Then Jenkins called. "I got her," he said. "Jasmine? Full name, Jasmine Miller, 36, lives in Portland, works at a nail salon. We also pulled hotel records. She booked a room 3 weeks ago under her name. Guess where?" "Where?" "The Redwood Inn, 15 minutes from the Harper's house." Later that evening, Detective Miles sat in front of Jasmine Miller in a small interview room. She looked nervous, biting her lip and clutching her purse. She wore too much perfume, but her eyes were puffy like she'd been crying. "I didn't kill him," she said before he could even ask a question. "Didn't say you did, but you were involved with Daniel Harper?" She nodded. "Yes, for 5 years. I met him through his contractor business before the accident. We kept in touch. He told me Elena stayed out of guilt. He said she didn't love him anymore." "Did you ever threaten to expose the relationship?" She looked down. "Yes. I was tired of being hidden. I told him it was over unless he told Elena." "When was the last time you saw him?" She hesitated. "The night before he died, at the Redwood Inn. He told me he would finally talk to her, that he was going to end it." Miles scribbled a note. "Did he say how she would react?" She shook her head. "He said she was too loyal, that she wouldn't leave him, even if he begged her to." He leaned forward. "Did she know about you?" Jasmine hesitated again, then whispered, "I don't think so, but someone sent me a message from a blocked number a few days ago." "What did it say?" She fished out her phone, shaking slightly, and handed it to him. On the screen was a message. "You ruined everything. You'll pay for what you've done." Miles stared at the message. This wasn't just a murder anymore. This was a storm of secrets, guilt, and betrayal. And someone, maybe Elena, had reached their breaking point. Detective Miles Grant leaned against his car in the police department parking lot, staring at Jasmine's message again. "You ruined everything. You'll pay for what you've done." A blocked number, no timestamp, no way to trace it. But it was the kind of message that meant someone had finally snapped. Back at the station, Miles called the tech team to dig deeper into Daniel's phone records and Elena's call logs. Though her phone was still missing, service providers could track activity if it had been powered on recently. "She hasn't used it since the night of the murder," the technician said. "It last pinged near a rest stop off I-5, about 30 miles south. After that, nothing." So Elena left her home, drove south, and disappeared. "Get road camera footage from that route," Miles ordered. "Every camera between here and the rest stop." Meanwhile, Miles returned to the Harper home with a forensics team. Something had been bothering him. The missing laundry, the bleach, the lack of fingerprints. It wasn't just cleaned, it was wiped down. "Sir," a forensic tech called from the laundry room. "We found residue from a latex glove in the washer drain. Also pulled a single long hair from the drain filter." Miles bagged it carefully. "Test both. We'll see if it's Elena's." He walked into the couple's bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. The headboard was dented, barely noticeable but new. He ran his fingers along the groove. Someone had slammed something against it. Then his phone rang. "Jenkins. We found the black sedan." "Where?" "Abandoned behind an old truck stop south of town. Plates match a rental, under Daniel Harper's name." Miles blinked. "Wait, Daniel rented a car?" "Yeah, 2 weeks ago. He returned it once. then re-rented it a few days later. Same car. Send the car to forensics. Check it for fingerprints, hair, blood, anything. The rental car changed everything. Daniel had pretended to be helpless, but he could still use his upper body. Was he more capable than he let on? Later that evening, Miles returned to his office and looked through the Harpers' financial records again. Something stood out this time. Daniel had been moving money, small amounts, a few $100s at a time, from their joint account to a private one. Over 5 years, it added up to nearly $40,000. And that account, it was drained a week before he died. Where did the money go? Miles muttered. A quick check showed withdrawals from an ATM near the Redwood Inn. 2 large cash withdrawals days before Daniel's death. Looks like he was preparing for something, Miles said aloud, either an escape or a bribe. The next morning, the results came back from forensics. The glove residue was standard cleaning latex. The hair in the washer, not Elena's. Female, brown, medium length. Miles frowned. Elena's blonde, Jenkins said, confused. Yeah, Miles replied slowly. But guess who else has brown hair? Jasmine, Miles nodded. Either she was there or someone planted her hair. But Jasmine swore she never entered the Harper home. Still, everything kept pointing to a woman scorned. Now there were 2 of them, one missing, one lying. Miles leaned back in his chair, tired but more focused than ever. If Elena didn't kill Daniel, she ran because she was scared. But scared of what? Or who? The highway stretched endlessly through the Oregon countryside, lined with pine trees and fading road signs. Detective Miles Grant gripped the steering wheel tightly as he neared the rest stop where Elena Harper's phone had last pinged. It was quiet. A few trucks were parked. No cameras. Just a row of restrooms, a vending machine, and an old payphone that probably didn't work. He parked and walked slowly along the asphalt, checking each corner for signs. Then he spotted it. Behind a garbage bin, muddy tire tracks, fresh, and next to them, something half buried in the dirt. A white sneaker, size 7, blood on the heel. He bent down carefully and placed it in an evidence bag. The name Elena was faintly written inside the tongue in black marker. She had been here. Back at the station, the lab confirmed it. Elena's blood on the shoe, but only a smear. Not enough to suggest serious injury. So, had she been bleeding? Or had she stepped in someone else's blood? Then the tech team called. They found a partial match on the brown hair from the laundry room. Not Jasmine. Someone else entirely. Laura Conway, 28, Daniel's former physical therapist. Miles's head spun. I thought Daniel stopped rehab years ago. He did, Jenkins confirmed. But Laura continued home visits for about 6 months after the accident. Then she disappeared from his records. She filed a complaint against him. Harassment. It was buried. No charges filed. Get her address. Laura Conway lived alone in a townhouse near the edge of the city. When Miles knocked, she opened the door halfway. Yes? Laura Conway? Who's asking? Detective Miles Grant. I need to ask you some questions about Daniel Harper. She froze. Her face paled. Is this about his death? So you've heard. It was on the news. Miles stepped inside. Her home was clean, tidy, smelled of candles. You had a relationship with Mr. Harper? Number. He was my patient. For about a year. You filed a harassment complaint? She tensed. Yes. He crossed the line. Tried to touch me during therapy. Made comments. I stopped visiting him and never looked back. Except your hair was found at his home last week, in his laundry room. She took a step back. That's impossible. Do you still dye your hair? She hesitated. Number, I stopped last year. Then it was a fresh strand. You were there. Her hands shook. I wasn't, I swear. I haven't seen him in years. But someone put you there, Laura. He paused. Or maybe you went back because you wanted revenge. Her voice broke. Number, I hated him, but I wouldn't kill him. He ruined my career. I lost clients. I just wanted to forget he existed. Miles believed her, or at least part of her. But something didn't sit right. If Laura didn't put that hair there, Who did? Meanwhile, forensics came back with another surprise. A single fingerprint on the back of the bleach bottle used to clean the Harper laundry room. It belonged to Daniel Harper himself. Why would Daniel clean up his own blood? Jenkins asked. Miles thought about it. Unless he wasn't cleaning up a murder. He pulled up the old text from Jasmine again. One line stood out now more than ever. You sat there and let her think you needed her. That night, Miles sat alone in his office, piecing together the evidence. Daniel was not as helpless as he pretended. He had lied to both Elena and Jasmine. He had harassed a therapist and may have scared her into silence. He moved money, rented a car, and was planning something big. And Elena? She discovered something that made her run. Maybe it wasn't murder at all. Maybe it was something worse. Then came a call from the motel manager at a dusty roadside inn 2 towns over. A woman matching your missing person showed up here 3 days ago, he said. Stayed one night, paid in cash, looked scared, left before sunrise. Do you have the guest book? Miles asked. The man chuckled. No names, but she left something behind. What? A red journal. Miles froze. Elena kept a journal? Detective Miles Grant sat alone in the evidence room, the small red journal lying on the metal table in front of him. It was worn and leather-bound, the pages curled at the edges like it had been thumbed through countless times. He opened the first page. Day 1. I wish someone warned me what for better or worse really meant. Miles turned the pages slowly, each one drawing him deeper into the private world of Elena Harper. Her neat handwriting told the story of a woman spiraling, a woman who had given up everything to care for a man who stopped loving her long ago. It started after the accident. Daniel became distant, cold. He stopped laughing. He stopped touching me. He stopped talking to me unless he needed something. I thought it was the pain. I thought it was the trauma. But then I found the emails. He was writing love notes to someone. He deleted most of them, but he forgot to empty the trash folder. They weren't just flirty. He called her his only reason for surviving, said I was just the nurse with a ring. That was the first time I cried in the bathtub with the water running so he wouldn't hear. Miles kept reading. I stayed. I told myself I was stronger than this. That marriage meant something. But over the years, he got better, stronger. He could move his legs more than he let on. I watched him walk to the kitchen one night when he thought I was asleep. He turned off the lights and walked. No limp, no cane, like nothing ever happened. He faked it for 5 years, just so I wouldn't leave him, or maybe so I'd feel guilty. And all that time, he was seeing someone else, not just Jasmine. There were others. I found a second phone in his toolbox. I read his texts. He paid women to come by during the day when I was running errands. I think he recorded some of them. Miles stopped. This wasn't just betrayal. It was manipulation, psychological abuse. Daniel Harper had created a prison, and Elena was the only inmate. And then came the final entries, the ones written just days before Daniel's death. May 6th, he told me he was leaving me, not for Jasmine, for someone younger. Said he needed a fresh start. He said he wanted the house and the money, and I could keep my bad attitude. May 7th, I confronted him. He laughed, said I was lucky he let me stay this long, that no one else would want a bitter, aging wife with nothing to her name. I slapped him. He didn't even flinch, just smiled. May 8th, I packed a bag, I took cash. I planned to go stay with my cousin in California. But then I saw him with her, not Jasmine, someone new, a young woman, looked no older than 22. She was in my house. I waited outside. I watched her leave. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to run. I was going to make sure he never hurt anyone again. Miles shut the journal. It wasn't a confession, but it was close. Elena had motive. She had rage. She had opportunity. But still, no body, no weapon, no direct proof she killed him. He sat back in his chair and rubbed his eyes. Then Jenkins burst into the room. We got something, he said, holding up a tablet. Gas station camera near the rest stop caught Elena's car pulling in at 3:12 a.m. the night Daniel died. She wasn't alone. Miles leaned forward. What do you mean? There was a passenger, female, long brown hair, matched the description of Laura Conway. Miles froze. What the hell is Laura doing with Elena? No clue, but it gets better. We ran facial enhancement. It's Laura, no mistake. So now the story was different. Daniel wasn't just cheating on Elena. He may have been cheating on Jasmine. With Laura again. Or maybe Elena and Laura had teamed up. That night, Miles pieced together the timeline. Elena discovers Daniel's lies and cheating. She finds out about Laura. The two women talk, share trauma. Then, something snaps. They drive together. Daniel ends up dead. Elena disappears, and Laura, still denying everything. The final blow came at midnight, when the coroner called with the full autopsy. Daniel hadn't just died from blunt force trauma. He had a paralytic drug in his bloodstream, one used in hospital settings to induce temporary immobility, the same drug used by physical therapists during extreme muscle treatment. Miles whispered under his breath, "Laura." Detective Miles Grant sat in the interview room once again across from Laura Conway. This time, he didn't ask questions. He placed Elena's red journal on the table and slid it toward her. Laura glanced down, her face drained of color. "I didn't kill him," she said immediately. "I never said you did." "Then why am I here again?" Miles leaned in. "Because your face is on the gas station footage, with Elena, the night Daniel died." Laura looked away. "I want to help Elena," she whispered, "but I didn't hurt Daniel. I swear." "Then start talking." Laura inhaled slowly. "I hadn't seen her in years. She called me out of nowhere, said she found my number in one of Daniel's old files. She said she believed me about what happened back then." Miles remained silent, letting her continue. "She invited me to coffee. She looked different, tired, broken, but clear-eyed. She said Daniel had ruined her too, and she wanted to warn me that he was still watching me online. He had pictures, screenshots of my private accounts." Miles's jaw tightened. "He never stopped stalking you, did he?" "No," she said, trembling. "That man lived off power and control. Pretending to be weak was just another way to manipulate people. He used his disability like a shield." Laura wiped her eyes. "We drove to the rest stop to talk in private. She said she was thinking of confronting him, but not violently. She wanted to record him admitting what he'd done to us both. Cheating, harassment, fake disability, everything." "Did you go back to the house with her?" Miles asked. Laura hesitated. "Number I told her I couldn't. I was scared. I left her at the rest stop and drove home." "Did you hear from her again?" "She texted me around 5 a.m. She said, 'It's over. He'll never hurt anyone again.'" Forensics later matched the paralytic drug found in Daniel's blood to a batch stolen from a rehabilitation clinic Laura once worked for. But the theft happened after she'd quit. Elena might have taken it, or someone else had access. But what stood out now wasn't just Daniel's death. It was what he'd been doing before he died. Miles returned to the Harper home one last time. In the basement, hidden behind a wall panel, he found a second safe. Inside, a USB drive. Its contents, dozens of videos, secret recordings, some of Elena crying and caring for Daniel, unaware the camera was running, some of other women, private moments, conversations, encounters, all recorded without consent. One file labeled Laura 2019 showed a physical therapy session. Daniel reaching out to touch her while she flinched away. The video cut off after a scream. This was enough. Enough to prove Elena had motive. Enough to prove Daniel was a predator. And enough to understand why someone wanted him dead. The DA reviewed the evidence. But before charges could be filed, a call came in from a small hospital in Northern California. A woman had been admitted with dehydration and exhaustion after collapsing outside a bus station. She gave a false name, but the nurse recognized her from a missing person bulletin. Elena Harper had been found. Miles drove down immediately. When he entered the hospital room, he saw her, pale, thinner, with sunken eyes, but alert. She looked up at him with no fear. "You found the journal," she said softly. "I did." "Then you know why I ran." Miles nodded. "Did you kill him, Elena?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked out the window and whispered, I didn't plan to. I just wanted him to admit it, on camera, to tell me everything. And did he? Her lips trembled. He laughed, called me stupid, told me no one would believe me. And then I injected him. Just a small dose. I wanted him frozen, just for a few minutes. I wanted him to feel helpless, like I did all those years. Miles's heart pounded. But something went wrong, she said. His heart stopped. I tried to help. I panicked. I didn't mean to kill him. Confession. On the record. But something still didn't feel right. Miles pulled out a final folder. Surveillance records. Bank activity. A name. A final twist was waiting. Did you know Daniel had a secret life insurance policy? He asked. One that doubled in payout for accidental death? Elena shook her head slowly. Well, someone did. He laid the paper on her tray. A beneficiary change form, signed weeks before Daniel's death. Not in Elena's name, not Jasmine. Laura Conway. Detective Miles Grant stared at the document one more time. Laura Conway, beneficiary to a $500,000 life insurance policy, updated just 3 weeks before Daniel Harper's death. He couldn't shake the weight in his chest. Something didn't fit. Why would Daniel, a manipulator, a serial cheater, make Laura, a woman he once abused and discarded, the heir to his death? Unless he didn't change it. Someone else did. Back in the station, Miles had the policy paperwork analyzed. Daniel's signature on the beneficiary change was real, verified. But something new came up. He wasn't the one who initiated the update. The request came from an online insurance portal. Through a masked IP address, bouncing off servers in Colorado and Utah. It had been accessed using Daniel's login credentials. And the device? A tablet linked to Laura Conway. Laura was brought in one last time. Miles didn't shout. He didn't accuse. He simply laid out the puzzle pieces, one by one. The secret visit with Elena. The gas station footage. The paralytic drug from Laura's former clinic. The text from Elena. It's over. The hidden camera videos. And finally, the insurance payout set to deposit into a new offshore account, opened by Laura under an alias. Laura said nothing for a long time. Then she spoke in a voice so quiet it barely filled the room. I didn't want him dead. I wanted him ruined. Miles leaned back. You forged his insurance update? Number one got him to do it. Her eyes were glassy, cold. He believed I loved him again, that I had forgiven him, that I'd take care of him once he left Elena. He trusted me. He always trusted the lies he liked to hear. Flashback. 3 weeks before Daniel's death, Laura had gone to visit him. Not as a victim, but as a seductress. She told him she'd been waiting for him all these years. She told him Elena was crazy. She said she'd help him escape. She didn't mention the policy. She simply said, prove you love me. Put my name on something real. And he did. I didn't kill him, Laura said flatly, but I set the table. And Elena? She didn't know about the policy. She just broke. Miles stood, staring through the glass into the hallway. So you let her do it. She was going to do it anyway. I just helped speed it up. Elena Harper was charged with manslaughter. Her confession, and the coroner's report confirming a drug-induced cardiac arrest, meant she would serve time, but not for premeditated murder. Laura Conway, however, was charged with insurance fraud, accessory to homicide, and obstruction of justice. Her attempt to collect on the policy, even if she never delivered the fatal blow, tied her directly to the motive and manipulation behind Daniel's death. Elena Harper, psychological abuse, infidelity, and long-term manipulation by spouse. Laura Conway, revenge, financial gain, personal closure. Charges filed. Elena Harper, involuntary manslaughter, 7 years with parole option in 3. Laura Conway, insurance fraud, criminal conspiracy, accessory to homicide, 12 years without parole. 3 years later, Detective Miles Grant would still visit Elena once a year, out of quiet respect. She had become a voice for abused spouses inside the prison system, writing essays and leading mental health support groups. Laura, on the other hand, refused all visitors. Justice had been served. Not cleanly, not perfectly, but truth had clawed its way through. In the end, Daniel Harper's greatest lie, his fake weakness, couldn't protect him from the strength of two women he thought were broken. And for the first time in a long time, Miles slept well.